Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm just enjoying my drink while I waited for this to spin up. Hey, welcome to the ever decreasing gap in time from when I go live to before anyone joins the live stream. So you're only seeing this if you're watching it back later. So you're special. You get an experience that other people don't get. Mind you, of course, if you're on the live stream, you get that experience, and the live stream is different to just watching it back. Hi Damon, how's it going? Of course, the complete experience would to be both, to be in part of the live stream and watch the bits that you didn't see. Hey there, Tendai. So it's all a rich tapestry. So, you know, cheers and welcome aboard. Good evening, Lathu. Oh, I do so like fresh lemon juice in my drink. Yeah. I complain about this a lot, but my beard will not go straight, and so it's just because my hair gets curly when it gets long. What do I have planned for the weekend? Well, be date night with the missus on Saturday night, and I think we're thinking of going to see a movie because there's a lot of quality choices to be had, some very well-reviewed choices. I think the top possibilities is like a comedy called The Big Sick, and the other one would be Dunkirk. Might even see the Planet of the Apes movie. It's probably the third pick, but yeah, and it's interesting because that would be at different venues too. If we went and saw The Big Sick, that would probably be at an independent cinema near our place. Hello, Caleb. And that means we'd have dinner and cocktails at a restaurant that's just next to that, which is quite good. If we go to see Dunkirk, that would probably be at the Village Gold Class. And they have a recently opened bar right next door where, you know, we can have a couple cocktails before going into the movie. And they make good cocktails too, so spoiled for choice, really. Yeah, I don't know if anyone here watches Silicon Valley, the comedy about, you know, nerd startups. But the Pakistani guy out of that is the lead in The Big Sick, and he also wrote it. I don't think he directed it, I think he wrote it, co-wrote it with his wife, and he's the lead in it. And he's very funny in Silicon Valley, and he does funny stand-up too, and I've heard very good things about this movie, so that's an interesting possibility. The other one is Dunkirk, which is directed by Christopher Nolan, who did like the Dark Knight films, and it is, of course, based on the real events of World War II, where thousands of English soldiers retreating from the Germans were trapped on the beaches of Dunkirk in France, and the Navy couldn't rescue them, and so citizens in small boats just crossed the English Channel to rescue as many of the soldiers as they could. It was an amazing story from the war, and by all accounts, well, not by all accounts, by most accounts, it's a good movie. Do you ever get that feeling that sometimes reviewers, and not like loudmouths on the internet, but actual real professional reviewers, every now and then there's a film that's got almost universal praise, and then there'll be one reviewer who goes, well, here's why this film sucks. Do you ever get the feeling they just want people to pay attention to them? Like they go, everyone loves this movie. If I say it sucks, people will pay attention to me. Everyone will be talking about me. Am I cynical? Am I cynical for thinking that they have that sort of motivation? Because I really think they have that. No, not always, by all means, but I think for some of them, they have that motivation. Ooh, I want to be the edgy one. Oh my God, it reminds me, this one thing that's never gone out of mind, it was probably from the 90s, the 1990s, early days of the internet anyway. I just remember being on this chat board. It might have been the old Usenet news groups, it might have been a website, but people were talking about movies, and people used to do signatures, when they signed off for, like, from an email or a post on something. You'd have a couple lines that, I don't know, said something about you, and usually it's people trying to be edgy and cool, like it's song lyrics or meaningful quotes that they think make them look cool. And on this discussion about movies, this guy, and I picture him as being quite young, like still a teenager. After his post on the thing, he signed it off for, like, you know, Jimbo Jones, the guy who thought Seven was boring. Now, Seven, because it's an old movie now, maybe you don't know it. It's got Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. It's a serial killer movie. Brad Pitt's the young cop trying to prove himself. Morgan Freeman's the old cop who's about to retire when this particularly gruesome serial killer appears in their midst. And this guy thought he was being edgy by saying he thought Seven was boring. And yeah, Sean, it's a David Fincher film. It's a good film. I like it. But he thought he was, I could just tell he thought he was being edgy by saying, I thought it was boring. It's like, no, you sad little fucking wanker desperate to have people pay attention to you and think you're cool. You didn't think it was boring. You think it's good, and a lot of people think it's good, and you think going against that makes you edgy. It's not a perfect film. I like it, but people can have a whole range of good reasons to not like it. And this little wanker was just trying to big note himself. Like, yeah, I thought it was pretty ordinary because I've got better taste than you. Whoa, I'm just too far out in the stratosphere for you. You can't handle all the indie edginess of me. People like that make me fucking sick. Yes. You know, I'm just going to try and adjust this a little bit, which might be, I know it worked, but I thought might be a terrible mistake, but it worked. Damon, you asked me what I was drinking. This is a Pepsi and fresh lemon juice. Some of my local friends came through because I feel like I mentioned this before. A lot of lemon trees are fruiting now, and I don't have a lemon tree anymore when I moved house, and I feel sad. And I said, hey, if anyone's got excess lemons, I'll have them. So a couple of friends got me bags of lemons. I've been juicing them and adding them to my drink. Yeah, Sean, that's exactly the type. You know, I'm objectively right because I tell the truth. Or even, again, when people... Okay, there's a simple fact, like, individual taste is an individual thing. Hi, Aussie Brick Chick. And if you don't like something that lots of people like, whether it's like a commercial mainstream success or whether it's critically acclaimed, if you don't like it, that's cool. Taste is an individual thing. But when you try to make out like that makes you better than other people, that really grates on my nerves. I mean, you know, like for instance, Big Bang Theory, which I think is still the top rating sitcom in America. I don't like it. I don't think it's particularly funny, but that's cool. A lot of other people do like it. I mean, you know, I think it's a little disturbing how heavily the humour relies on rape myself. You know, and I get why people don't like it, and it's okay to be spirited about what you don't like it, but it's when you think it makes you morally or intellectually superior. And sure, okay. Oh, hi, Joe. Okay, Big Bang Theory is popcorn entertainment. No one involved in it would pretend it was deep. You know, it works off cliches and stereotypes and easy laughs, and that's what mainstream TV sitcoms do, just is. And that's, you know, that's what it is. And then you get the other stuff, like stuff that's a bit heavier. There's a lot of either critical acclaim or a cult fan base, like, you know, like Game of Thrones is a huge show that has a bit more depth than Big Bang Theory. But there are heaps of reasons to not like it. So, saying you don't like it or you've never watched it doesn't make you special. It's completely fine. that you've never watched it, because there's so much good TV to watch. If you don't watch that, so what? It's completely fine if you don't like it. Taste is a personal thing, but acting like it makes you better somehow, I just find that really annoying. Oh yeah, Aussie Brick Chick wasn't Game of Thrones. Now that I've brought it up, wasn't Game of Thrones intense this week? That was fucking hardcore. I did not expect something to go that brutal that quickly with, yeah, the one fleet from the Iron Islands that has Daenerys's sidekicks on it from Dawn, getting waylaid by the other fleet from the Iron Islands that's on the side of King's Landing and the Lannisters. And that was hardcore as fuck. Well, see, Joe, it's all about balance. The TV doesn't get used that much. The wine glasses get used a lot. You know, it's like my cocktail shaker gets used a lot. I'm running out of my flavoured beverages. I'll have to visit the rock candy shop next one. I was actually going to make, I think I'll make someone, because I've got all these lemons. I think I'll peel the rind and steep some vodka in that. Oh yeah, Aussie Brick Chick. I really wasn't expecting the sand snakes to get snotted like that. That was brutal as fuck. Like that guy from the Iron Islands, like how crazy is he? But how is he not dead? How are the sand snakes not using poison? I thought they always used poison. But apparently they weren't using poison because they stabbed him quite a few times and he didn't die, but they did. So yeah, that was very hardcore, and I wasn't quite expecting something that full on. It's interesting because it forces Daenerys's hand, because they came up with the subtle plan that didn't have the dragons fucking wasting everything, and didn't have the Dothraki or the Unsullied just going hardcore murder on people. But now they're gonna have to, because the Dornish and their friends did not come out of that very well. Hey there, Toby. Yes, you don't win thrones with subtle. You don't win friends with salad, and you don't win thrones with subtle. And the previews for next week, Jon Snow does go to see Daenerys. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Yeah, Damon, that was a big surprise. I not only was not expecting the two fleets to cross each other, because I thought that dude who was trying to get on the Queen's good side, I thought he was going to try and kidnap Tyrion. But it was just like, well, just get some of her enemies. Get some of her enemies prisoner and bring them back, and you get on her good side. And yeah, and that's certainly turned it around pretty fucking quick smart. Oh my god, and how hard a time is Jon Snow having with his sister when he told her, don't contradict me in front of other people, and then she just goes and contradicts him again. It's like, are you not listening? Toby, you sent me the Quran. Cool. Cool. Yeah, Theon's PTSD kicked in and he jumped ship. Hey, Biori, glad to see you again. Oh, good, you sent me your Quran. Someone else sent me something because it arrived the other day and I keep forgetting to go to my post box and get it. I will try and remember tomorrow. Hey, and who knows what will be in the post box. They never, incidentally, they never ask me what is my parcels. Like, they're not very interested in the post office, but it would be funny if it was like the parcels I got recently. They said, oh, what's that? You know, it's a Bible. Oh, what's today's package? It's another Bible. And what's today's package? It's a Quran. It's like, okay then. So, Yes, but you know, it's just all about expanding. You should see... Oh, that's interesting. The Jehovah's Witness one, because I haven't really looked at it, it gives like a plot synopsis. Like the book of Matthew, it's got an outline up front. It's like if you don't want to... This would be how you cheat. If you want to like hook up with a Christian and pretend you know the Bible without reading it all, just read the outline here. It's like a book of Matthew. We've got the genealogy of Jesus and the birth of Jesus, the astrologers, flight to Egypt, Herod kills you. You just have to remember these key points, and you could bluff your way through it. Hey, this is illustrated, I think. Not much. I just saw something referring to an illustration, but I don't think it really is. I think they lied to me. Can't trust Jehovah's Witnesses. I wonder if I can find some differences in these translations. So like, we go to the Titus. What the hell is Titus? I didn't know there was a... Wait. Corinthians, letter to the Ephesians, letter to the Philippians, Colossians, letter to Timothy, letters of Timothy. Titus. What the fuck is Titus? I didn't know there was a book called Titus. The Epistle of Paul to Titus. Wow. Okay, that opened a big gap in my Bible knowledge. I didn't know there was a book called Titus. Oh, did I see what the Cheeto-in-Chief did? Out of the blue, saying he's going to ban transgender people from the armed forces, which is actually a lot of active service people in the armed forces. And this is where it gets murky, because he claims, I talked to the generals and they said that it's bad having transgender people, so I'm banning them. Now, as a general rule, there's a pun, general rule, serving generals won't contradict the president publicly. But I don't know. See, what would you do if you were active in the military and he just blatantly lied? Like if there was no consultation with the military and he's just gone and done this to pander to his bigoted base. As a rule, the generals don't speak out against the president. But he's kind of asking for it if he's lying. Because there are some high-ranking transgender officers in the American army. So what the hell this is going to mean? Okay, but I'll tell you what, I think it's shitty and awful what he did. But one thing I find, I don't know, somewhere between amusing and pathetic is when people on the left, progressives who are opposed to Trump, think they're changing anyone's mind by saying, oh look, what he did to transgender people is awful. What he said about Mexicans is awful. See, the people who think that already don't like Trump. The Trump supporters think that's a good thing to do. If your intention is to sway Trump supporters, you have to actually focus on and amplify the way he's betrayed the people who voted for him. And being mean to minorities, promoting racism and homophobia and transphobia, that's not alienating his base. That's exactly what his base wants. Saying his idea about a wall with Mexico is stupid. That doesn't alienate his base. Saying he's just disgustingly unfair in his dealings with the media, that ridiculous stuff going on about fake news, saying that's unreasonable for the president and is a debasement of the office of the president, that's not affecting any of his supporters because they like that. If all you're doing is a bit of chest thumping and trying to appeal to your base of supporters, then okay, do it. But these people already think Trump is shit. if you want to sway some of his supporters, you need to do the things, and there are dozens of these things. You need to really push the things that show Trump is betraying the people who voted for him, that he's lying to them, that he's using them. And you have to push them hard. And that's things like how many people from Wall Street he's appointed into his administration. After all the bullshit saying that Hillary Clinton's bad because she's in with Wall Street and whatnot, he's appointed more Wall Street people than she would have. Just simple stuff like that. Or you think about, I'm bringing American jobs back. But all the products released by him and his family are made in China. And he fucks over American businesses. He cheats American businesses. He destroys American businesses. That's the stuff you have to highlight. Like, his whole thing about jobs for America is a lie. He's treating you like a complete fucking chump when he says that. That's a good summary, Joe. Liar, fraud, wanker, oxygen thief. But, you know, if there's going to be any sort of resistance to Trump, you've got to be a bit smarter than a lot of people are doing. Because, Jesus, a lot of the people speaking out against him, it's fucking amateur hour. It's, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, okay, the argument about should pineapple be on pizza. If your only argument is, pineapple on pizza is gross, you're not going to change the mind of anyone who likes pineapple on pizza. But all the people who think pineapple on pizza is gross are going to cheer you on, but you're not going to achieve anything because they already thought pineapple was gross on pizza. So, you know, Trump is the pineapple on the pizza of America. Some people really like it, and sensible people don't. I don't know why I said that, because I have nothing against pineapple on pizza, but it's just what people said. Yeah. Have you not seen the Pineapple Pizza Wars, Joe? Some people get very spirited about it. Take it very seriously. A little too seriously, quite honestly, but Adolf Trumpfler. I like that. It's like, yes, we should. Okay, Damon, would Hillary be better than Trump? On almost any measurable metric, Clinton would have been better than Trump. Was I inspired by Clinton and thought that would be a marvelous thing for the world? No, I think Clinton is unimaginative party political hack. She's part of the machine. And Trump, with his lies about being an outsider, Trump is the ultimate insider. He's just not inside the political realm. He's just in, you know, the money world. The fucking pathetic losers who think Trump speaks for me. You know, Trump thinks you're fucking garbage and he's laughing in your face, and you're too fucking stubborn to admit, okay, I voted for someone who's not just a liar. Like, you can say as much as you like, all politicians are liars, but Trump is a vile, disgusting, weak, pathetic excuse of a human. Like, he's just despicable. Everything about him is despicable. And he played everyone for a sucker. Well, Joe, Hanson wishes she was like Trump, but Hanson is a single note. Hanson is racism. Hanson is bigotry. Trump, in his lies and spouting things people want to hear, at least has a few different things he says. They're all lies, And yes, he eats pizza with a knife and fork. So, you know, he's not a New Yorker. What's that about? They should have thrown him out of New York for that alone. But Trump tells a lot of different lies. Hansen just tells one lie. Oh God, speaking of which, I'm still holding out hope. I was kind of half joking the other day. Malcolm Roberts, one of the One Nation senators, who is fucking garbage. He is such a piece of shit. There's rumors because he was born in India. And there's all this stuff happening in Australian politics now. You're not allowed to be in Parliament and be a dual citizen. You have to just be a citizen of Australia. And a couple of Green senators actually resigned because it turns out they were dual citizens and they didn't realise it was a problem, and they're gone. Now one of the government's ministers resigned from the ministry, but he's still in Parliament because it looks like he's screwed up and has Italian dual citizenship, and he's blaming his mum. His big thing for why are you signed up for Italian citizenship? He's going, oh, my mum did that. No, I didn't know. Like, that can happen without you signing stuff. And people have evidence. He's been sent voting registration multiple times for Italian elections. It's like, my God, that's the Shane Warne defense. My mum did it. So he's resigned as a minister to try and take the heat off, but I don't think that's work. I think he's gone. But then someone pointed out Malcolm Roberts was born in India, and under Indian laws, being born in India makes you an Indian citizen. But apparently, if you're then a citizen of somewhere else, your Indian citizenship is gone. But anyway, someone pointed out he was born in India, and he's going, oh, I might have been born there, but, you know, I renounced that, you know, I don't have dual citizenship. But his parents were English, and when he was a kid, he travelled to England on an English passport. So it is, the pressure on him is ratcheting up a little bit. And if he got dropped kicked from the Senate, that would be friggin' awesome, because he is a piece of shit. So this whole dual citizenship thing does not look like going away in a hurry. But yeah, if it happened to Malcolm Roberts, that would be hilarious, because that guy is a fucking piece of shit. Joe, not all shit can be used for fertilizer, okay? I do remember a friend's grandmother who didn't like her boyfriend referred to the boyfriend as cat shit because she said he's useless, couldn't even use him for fertilizer. So not all shit can be used for fertilizer, if grandma's wisdom is anything to go by. Just throwing it out there. It's a complicated universe we live in. Question, waistcoats. Can you ever have enough? RC, no way. Look, one of the reasons I want to lose weight is because I have a bunch of waistcoats, aka vests, that I got too fat for. Let's not sugarcoat this. You know, I let myself go, fat bastard, and some stuff I used to really like wearing, I can't wear anymore because I got too fat. So when I lose some weight, I'll be able to have a much more diverse range of vests to wear, and that will be a good thing. So here's hoping. Everything's going oh Joe, it's not an illusion. Like okay, I've been on YouTube like 10, 11 years, and I've gained at least 20 kilograms from when I started. And that's a lot, you know. When you think about, well, you average it over 10 years, I'm only putting on 2 kilograms a year, and that can sneak up on you. But yeah, I got to get back to how I used to look. Like I got to lose about 20 kilos. Actually, you know, realistically, I probably should lose closer to 30, but we'll see how it goes. But my big turnaround that I mentioned on the other streams, sorting my life out through the magic of tapping, or EFT, psychological counseling technique, that's basically making me not want to eat snacks. I eat healthier food and I don't eat snacks. I haven't eaten snacks for 3 weeks and I've lost about 1 kilo a week. Did I watch the Chasers War and everything, Connor? Not religiously, but I had watched it. The Chaser could be funny, could be insightful, could be biting, but I think they also showed if you're trying to do ensemble comedy, you should have a more diverse group of people, because if it's a bunch of white guys who went to uni together, it starts to get a bit samey. Like when there's no ethnic diversity and there's no gender diversity, it starts to get a bit same. And I'm not saying diversity for diversity's sake. I'm saying diversity brings actual rewards. You get different voices, you get different views, and you get more interesting. I've watched bits of the Checkout too, Joe. Again, that also has good stuff in it. I don't think it's hilarious or, you know, bitingly insightful, but it has good stuff on it. So, it's all good. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, a generation before the Chase, like 10 or so years before the Chase, you had the D generation, the Late Show, the people who formed the working dog productions that have done so many good movies and TV shows. They had people from different backgrounds. They did all meet at uni, but they had women in the group. I mean, when I say different backgrounds, you had Europeans, you had Caucasians, but people whose background was Eastern European, you know, Greek, Mediterranean. There was at least some diversity in there. And like seriously, if you're going to do a sketch comedy show, ensemble comedy show, you do need diversity. If you really want to not be limited, you have to have people of different races, different genders, different ages, different body types, different levels of attractiveness. You know, gotta have a hot guy, gotta have a hot girl, gotta have a fat guy, gotta have a fat girl, gotta have an old guy, gotta have an old girl. You know, and you need that mix so you're not limited in what you do, and you're also less limited in the viewpoints and ideas that come into it. I'm a big believer in collaborating. Joe, absolutely. Well, okay, attraction is a subjective thing anyway, but fat does not mean unattractive, but it's a type, and particularly if you're doing comedy. See, this is I guess my old school cliche things with comedy. If you're gonna do comedies, you gotta have a fat guy and you've gotta have a fat girl, because you're gonna want them in there being funny. But you need someone hot too. You need a hot guy and a hot girl. You need an old guy and an old girl, and young people, and yeah, different ethnicity. It just gives you more depth and more range. Gets more interesting visuals in the show, but also in terms of the source material, you have people with different experiences and different points of view, and you tend to get richer content that way. So yeah, when people talk about diversity for its own sake is stupid and doesn't work and quotas don't work, it's like diversity is its own reward. If I've worked in a lot of places, and I mean a lot of places because I'm a contractor, and if you're in a workplace where the management roles are all white guys, it's a really fucking shit environment. If there isn't diversity in the workplace, if there isn't people from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds, if there isn't a decent gender mix in both management and rank and file staff, it's a really shitty workplace. You need that diversity or the place stagnates, and there's way less room for innovation and different voices. The trouble is, historically, white guys running things only put other white guys in roles. So really mediocre white guys get promoted to management just because they're the next white guy in line. So the idea, like people saying, "Oh, quotas are bad. You shouldn't have quotas for, you know, gender or sexuality or race." It's like, yeah, you should, because all these people who say they are judging on merit are not. Because when you look and see, you know, 99% of CEOs are white men. No, 99% of the best and most talented people are not white men. That simply isn't true. It's just a boys' club has put them in that position. Ooh, guess what? Regular viewers will know it must be half time between 2 Star Trek episodes, as snacks are being prepared for the next round and some chocolates being melted in the microwave. Okay, Jatma, what the hell? That is a really strange entry. And you already know I have not seen the story of OJ. If you're worried about having sexually transmitted infections, use a condom. Trouble with quotas, there's a possibility of tokenism, which can be a negative thing too. Joe, it can be. It's not as big a problem as mediocre white guys promoting other mediocre white guys. That is a big, serious problem. Mike, okay, serious question, Mike. Does your business employ people? Are you a sole trader or do you employ people? Nice rhyming mnemonic for memory there, Tendai. Before you tap it, make sure you wrap it. I like that. That is a winning slogan. Okay, Mike, what I would say is, it's your business. You don't have to give your business to anyone. But my advice to you, and this is based on my long experience of working in a lot of different work environments, if you don't have diversity in your hiring practice, you're hurting yourself. It's as simple as that. Yep. And look, Mike, you've got a mix of male and females. It's a small business and you've got a decent mix. It doesn't sound like you have a problem, but this is just my advice. A long experience working in a lot of different environments. If you don't have diversity in your workforce, you're doing yourself a disservice. The evidence is out there to support it, and it's certainly my experience in life. So, yeah, Mike, I mean, that's the thing, you know, you're a theatre company, you use females in it. That wasn't always the go, was it? Shakespearean times, women weren't allowed to act. All the female roles were played by men. Well, management's all male. Mike, look, you're a small company. Maybe that's not an issue. But it's honestly something I think you should be conscious of. I think you should, I am a believer in you put the best person in a role, but again, from my experience in all these different workplaces, if you look at who's in management roles, if it's all white men, you're not putting the best people in. Now, a small company like yours, that is likely to be less true. I'm talking about medium to large companies. That's where I've done most of my work. I've worked in startups as well. But definitely, it's a problem in startup culture too, but definitely once you get to the size of medium companies, like 100 employees, if all the management roles are white men, you have a problem. Because it simply isn't true that the best people for the job are always white men. Like when you look at the statistics in Australia, and it's a weird statistic, but it's true, like there are more top companies with a CEO named John than there are women CEOs. There are more companies with a CEO named David than there are women CEOs. If you can't see that there's an obvious problem there, then you're not looking very hard. So, and like I said, it's not just along gender lines, and it's easy to get blinded there. It's go, oh look, well we promoted this many white women, so we're all better. If there isn't real diversity, I just think you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think that people who fail to recognize that are a real problem. But yeah, I mean, Mike, that'd be interesting. I've read, because I've worked in the arts, I have a theatre degree, and I have read some interesting things where people have pointed out Australian theatre companies aren't that great about promoting anything but white culture. Indigenous performers, writers, directors don't get much of a look in. Oh look, everyone's asking what have they missed? I don't know, we talk about everything here. Now we're talking about diversity in the workplace. So yeah, and like I say, whenever you talk about diversity, and you look at companies where all the management is white males, you need to, those companies need to force hiring quotas that bring in some diversity, because they're failing. The people go, well, I don't judge on gender or race or sexuality or anything. It's just, you know, the fact that every role's filled by straight white men, they were just the best. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. They are not. Lots of, and I'm a straight white male, you know, lots of straight white males are very good at their jobs, but it's an unavoidable fact that this ridiculous prejudice that spreads across so many companies just results in pathetic, mediocre men getting promoted way beyond their capability just because they're the next white guy in line. That's just reality. And those companies that do that, basically, you can't really force it on a company, but they need to force themselves to build in more diversity because it's better for the company. Again, that's been shown statistically. Companies with more diversity actually do better financially. Celtic King, kind of you to ask. Family is all good. AIDSy, I assume, is good, which is always a dangerous assumption with him. I haven't talked to him for a couple of days. He was promising to send me a video that I could put up on the channel, which I don't have yet, but that's worth looking forward to. And I particularly look forward to having him here for a live stream because I think that would be fun. Yeah, Joe, see, you're worried about having a panic attack if you're promoted beyond your ability. I've dealt with many managers in the past who were way beyond their ability, and they cope with it by lashing out at people and being a real fucking shit. So I just think you're a better person than that, quite honestly, if you recognize your own limitations. It's the people who don't recognize their own limitations who are not good. So I've run out of drink. I've got to keep doing it. I need some ice. Let me get some ice. What can I drink here? Oh, that's what I could drink. Ice. Ooh, I could do that. Maybe I'll do that. That'll make a pretty drink. I'm going to do this. All right, I've changed my mind about what I'm drinking. All right, I'm going to have a flowery drink. I've got some lemonade here. Mike, spending money doesn't always solve the problems. Not spending enough money does cause problems. So this is not particularly alcoholic. This is like 25% alcohol. This is from an Australian maker. It's a violet liqueur. Settlers, they do gin. So this is like a gin base. Hey, Viola. You're on there, but you're missing out on me having violet liqueur. You could be having this if you were here. So yeah, this is an Australian made one. These people make gin as well. So this is like a gin base. Okay. Hey Nathan. Oh, it's really nice. And this thing, because it's, you know, I do have work tomorrow, so I don't want to get smashed. So I do the stuff that's not as high alcohol. This is going to be a very flowery drink because this is elderflower. You're going to be there in a jiffy. Yes, I knew the promise of booze would sway. Okay, so this is going to be a very flowery drink. Violet and elderflower. This stuff is really good. You're going to make ice blocks out of this. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. Put the lid back on and put a bit more lemonade in it. Okay, like that. Okay, I want a little bit more. All right, and make sure it's properly mixed. Okay, look, it's a pretty drink, isn't it? I've got a purple drink. I have purple drink. Yeah, that's good. Saw a video dude yesterday. He claims he's, well, Celtic King, maybe he did. There's something in my mailbox. It might be the abusive letter from Video Dude, which we'll get to tell him, because if I get it, I'm reading it out. I'm sharing it with everyone. The more abusive it is, the better, really. Yeah, if you see, you'll have to, oh, Joe, that's cruel but fair, referring to him as VD. Yeah, you will have to break the news to him that, yeah, the reason I blocked him is just because he was boring. Like, I have no problem with people having a different view. I have no problem with people expressing it, but, you know, move on. You know, stop trying to be the center of attention. Stop demanding that people respond to you. If you're too fucking boring to respond to, I'm not going to respond. So if you keep jumping up and down, well, I'm going to put some lemon in this as well. My fresh lemon juice. Sounded a bit blurty, didn't it? It's because it's almost empty. Mix in lemon juice. Yeah, Celtic King, the problem was it was just boring. And he wouldn't shut up. So, oh yeah, that's the stuff. Where's the rum gone, Mike? Where's the rum gone? That's this. This was like a drink bottle that was originally, you know, got to put in the kids' school lunches. But I really like it, like squeeze lemons in it, fresh lemon juice. And because only a certain amount comes out if you squirt it. And it's a really good measure for how much to put in a drink. So I find that really useful. Oh man, that's the stuff. Ah. Viola, you like wine because it has no weird squirty sounds. I just like squirty sounds. It's a weakness of mine. I'm just going to have to, you know, man, the flavors in that are really good. The lemon was a good addition. But yes, the violets, it basically tastes like lollies. Have you ever had those lollies from England called Parma Violet? It tastes like that. Viola, I like squirting. Hey, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Now we're talking smut. That's more like it. How early can we expect to read that letter, assuming a letter in your mailbox is full with a live stream? Oh no, I'll do it as a live stream, Celtic King, unless it's really, 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 really funny. Then I might do it in a pre-recorded video. But I will share it on a live stream. So after today, okay, the days I regularly do live streams are Tuesday and Thursday, and sometimes I do one on the weekend. So all things being equal, I might do a live stream on the weekend, but at the latest, I'll do it next Tuesday. Peter, you have a knock-knock joke? Oh, Tendai, you've reminded me of my favourite bad joke. You have a friend called Richard who's a bit of a dick. But we'll do Peter's first. Knock, knock. Who's there? So this is the delays don't really work for video, so I'm just going to keep repeating it, probably. So knock, knock. Who's there? Oh, God. Okay, I really like where this is going, Peter. Knock, knock. Who's there? 9/11. 9/11 who? This is not going anywhere good, is it? Oh dear. It's lucky I don't have any corporate sponsors. Oh, and you said you'd never get. That's so much nicer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be awful. But yes, okay, to put it all together now, the joke is, knock knock, who's there? 9/11. 9/11 who? Oh, you said you'd never forget. So, Joe, you ever reply for VD already? DVD, piss off you wanker, regards, angry. Look, I might be a bit more long-winded than that, but hey, ads. Oh my God, is there a 9/11 film with Charlie Sheen? That sounds terrible. That sounds spectacularly terrible, like crime against humanity level bad. In short, I have not seen it, but it sounds spectacularly bad. What film trailers have I watched recently? That's it, Joe. That's the longer one. BD, you're boring and unfunny. Go away, you wanker. Whoopi Goldberg, Gina Gershon, and Louis Guzman. Oh my God, what's it going to be? Tinto, you're right. I'm sure Charlie Sheen keeps pitching Hot Shots 3 around Hollywood. God, why wouldn't they make it? You know, you make some money out of it. It's kind of like those the Fat Pizza movies in Australia. Paulie's What's His Name makes them. I'm sure they're made on a spreadsheet. It's like he has a hardcore group of fans. They're this many, and so this many people will buy. That's it, Paulie Fennick, Mike. It's like Paulie Fennick has this many hardcore fans. So if we make a Paulie Fennick film, as a minimum, we'll make this much money in ticket sales. So this is how much money we'll know we make. So we'll make that much. So Paulie, if you can make a movie for this much, you can do it. We don't give a shit what it is. So long as the budget stays here and we know we're making this much profit, you can do it. You can do whatever you want. We don't give a shit. Go for it. I'm almost sure that's how the Paulie Fennick movies gets made. And Mike, look, it's okay. I don't think Paulie Fennick's unfunny. Yeah, Sean, I saw the film's literally just called 9/11. That sounds bad. I'd like to see Paulie Fennick make a movie called 9/11. That would work. But what was it? I think it was the Fat Pizza movie. Which, you know, it was, you know, what it was. His fan base is fine. But there was literally only 1 minute when I laughed out loud and I kind of lost it. I don't know about the rest of the world, but in Australia, in some areas of Australia, the cops will put signs up saying police now targeting X, and it might be seatbelts, might be speeding, it might be drink driving. They'll change it. They'll say what the particular thing they're targeting is, like police now targeting seatbelts, police now targeting speeding. And this one character in Fat Pizza Lebanese guy, Habib, he's trouble, like the cops should be targeting him, but he keeps going past these signs, and one was police now targeting seatbelts, police now targeting speeding, and he's like speeding when he goes past it. But then he passes one that says police now targeting Lebanese, and I fucking pissed myself. That was so funny because it worked on multiple levels. It worked because Habib is an asshole that police should be targeting, but cops are racist. Cops are racist and make unfair judgment against ethnic groups. And this was the real signs. And I fair pissed myself. I did actually see that movie in a cinema, and just when Habib passed the sign that said police now targeting Lebanese, I fair pissed myself. I thought that was such a funny joke. What's my view on Houzo's big bad ads? I think it has its moments. Yeah, it's like, I don't hate his polyphonic stuff. I don't love it either. I think it has its moments. Like, Paulie does a thing like, Houzo's particularly is, okay, we're going to insult everyone, so no one's allowed to say that we're being selectively abusive, because we're going to push awful stereotypes on everyone. The Italians, the Lebanese, the Greeks, the cops, and the white people. He has two versions of white people, the Bogans and the clubber guy who's on pingers all the time. David Hill, Superwog's not as funny as Paul Fennick. He's not unfunny. I think Superwog has done some very funny stuff. I'm not a huge fan, but I think he's done some very funny stuff. Let's dance on Jehovah and make him our witness. Sure, I like it, Celtic King. It's good. He goes back, though, whenever someone says witness, I just think Mad Max Fury Road. Witness me, witness! You know, ride shiny and chrome to Valhalla. Or the ultimate insult, when somebody wants to put someone down, they say mediocre. And that's the most biting insult. The most biting insult is to say mediocre. Yes, you're right, Tendai. I live, I die, I live again. Oh, Joe, okay, Yehovah. I've had this conversation before. Orthodox Jewish people can't write God's name. So in the earliest versions of the Talmud, there are the consonants in his name, not the letters. That's why some people say Yahweh and some people say Yehovah, because it's Y or J, H, W, H. That's how it's written in the books. It's Y or J, so Y, H, V, H, and there could be any consonants anywhere in there, and so it could be Yahoo Wahoo. God's real name could be Yahoo Wahoo. Could be Yahweh, could be Yehovah, could be Yahoo Wahoo. It's basically, you can put any vowels anywhere you want in Y, H, W, H, and that's supposedly God's name. Like, I've even seen, because I live in the really Jewish area of Melbourne, I've seen Jewish bakery where they had God written on the cake, but it was G_D. Like, it's against the rules to write God's name. So even if you're saying God, you have to leave out the vowel. So it's G_D, which I find quite weird, quite honestly. That's why when people say, like, you know, what's my belief? You know, am I an atheist? Am I whatever? Ooh, a hypothetical question. I love it. If I was charged with a crime and can get out of trial by combat, who would be my champion? That is an awesome question, Peter. I like that. Probably depends what type of combat we're talking about. See, Tendai, if God wants a cake with his name on it, he's shit out of... Well, he can't go to a Jewish bakery. He has to go to an atheist bakery or something, or a Christian bakery. Christians don't have problems with it. It's a tenet of Judaism to not write God's name. But Peter, it probably depends what type of combat, obviously. Like if it was hand-to-hand, that would be one thing. If it was like swords, it'd be another thing. If it was firearms, that would be another thing. Man, I tell you what, if it was swords, medieval weaponry, it'd be my mate Luca. He's awesome. And I think he'd be my champion. He's a mate that I've got through YouTube, lives here in Melbourne. Annoyingly good looking sort of 6 foot ex-military guy who does swordcraft. He would be my champion. I think he'd do it for me. We're mates. He'd be my champion in trial by combat. I'm probably seeing him on the weekend. I'll tell him, dude, I just nominated you as to be my champion if there's ever trial by combat. Would you go? See, vehicular combat, Tendai, that could be it. Peter, he's a cool dude. Annoyingly good looking, so always has beautiful women in his life, but you know. Yeah, see, is it Kung Fu, Celtic King? What's that? Oh, Viola, anyone in history. Well, we still come back to the same thing. It's going to depend what form of combat we have. You know, like if it's hand-to-hand, boxing, Cassius Clay at his time, Muhammad Ali at his prime would be mine for like hand-to-hand combat. Or, you know, if it's freeform like martial arts, Bruce Lee, I'm a traditionalist like that. But yeah, you know, if it was, you know, like sword fighting, I'd probably get like a samurai on my side. You know, they were badass. But yeah, if there were no rules, you know, you get someone like a ninja or a Navy SEAL that just sneaks around and kills people. But yeah, it's all going to depend on what form of combat we're talking about. Yeah, Joe, I personally would not do that well in trial by combat either. Oh, that's a cheery thought, RC. The Anglo-Saxon punishment of pressing, which is putting heavier and heavier weights. Ooh, Fila and Dealer, trial by your mama jokes. Who would be my champion in trial by your mama joke? Aidsy, actually. Aidsy would be my champion in trial by your mama jokes because he's pretty brutal with that. Like he tells me the story of when he was a touring comedian, touring stand-up comedy, a thing that Australian comedians do on tour buses or just when they're in bars together. The game that, well, Sean, you'd be my champion in trial by movie knowledge. Oh, fucking Joe, Jimmy Carr would not stand a chance against Aidsy. Not a chance in hell. Aidsy tells me the story, Australian comedians when they're on tour or in the bus or when they're just in a bar somewhere, the game they play is, this is how I know you're gay. And you have to come up with the most bizarre thing. And it's always something like, okay, you know how I know you're gay? When I sucked your dick, I smelled another guy's aftershave down there. Stuff like that. Like you have, and the thing is, you win if you make the other guy laugh. So you've got to come up with something that's so left field and so surprising that the other sort of bitter, twisted comedian loses it and cracks up laughing when you say it. You know, so, you know, you can't say anything lame like, yeah, I know you're gay because you're like a limp-wristed fag. Like, that's not going to work. You have to come up with something really full on. Like, you know, oh God, I'm literally remembering awful things Aidsy told me that he said on tour buses. Like, you know how I know you're gay? When I was fisting you the other night, I could put both hands up there and clap. And it's like, so it works best if there's some self-effacing part of it as well. Like it doesn't really work if you're just being homophobic and saying something stupid and anti-gay. It works better if you're saying something self-effacing, as you say it. But apparently that's, I don't know if anyone's heard of the old comedian's tradition called the aristocrats. It's a thing that's popular with a lot of comedians telling a version of the same joke that's just you're being as offensive as possible. Apparently the Australian comedian's version of the aristocrats is "This is how I know you're gay." And that was a reasonable call there, Peter. This is how I know you're gay. You're a popular Christian evangelical. Yeah, or I know you're gay because you're a Republican lawmaker who enforced anti-gay laws. Yeah, the good old aristocrats joke. Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller made a documentary about it. It was interesting. I was reading this thing on the website. There's a satire website called The Onion, and they have a bit called the AV Club, where they talk about entertainment, games, film, books, popular culture, highbrow culture. The AV Club is quite good. They published an article where a lot of their writers saying the worst movie they've ever seen in a cinema. They're American, so they said theatre. And honestly, I thought a couple of them, it's like, oh, you're either just trying to be sort of edgy and cool, or you don't see that many films in a cinema. Like people saying Watchmen is the worst movie you've ever seen in a cinema. It's like, okay, I get not liking Watchmen. That's one thing, but to say it's the worst movie you've ever seen in a cinema, I don't think you go to the cinema very often if that's the worst film you've ever seen in a cinema. And one of them did say the documentary The Aristocrats was the worst movie they'd ever seen in a cinema. And I liked it. I've got it on disc. I actually liked the documentary. But well, you see, Mike, was saying direct-to-DVD films is cheating. You had to say you actually paid money and went to a cinema. So I saw I'm almost sure I saw Mortal Kombat in the cinema. I'd have to think really hard to think what's the worst movie I've seen in the cinema, because I've seen a lot of films in the cinema and a lot of them were shitty. Yeah, I don't think I could pin one down, actually. Recently, what's the worst one I've seen in a cinema? That's an easier question to answer, Pat Man. Oh, my Date movie. I'm not surprised you walked out on that. I've only seen a bit of it and it is terrible, but I never would have gone to a cinema to see it. Okay, movies I've seen in a cinema recently that were terrible. Not that I felt like walking out on it, but you know, the DC movies, particularly Suicide Squad, was okay. It's colourful and stuff, I guess. Bye, Celtic King. Thanks for dropping by. I tell you though, not in the cinema. Stuff I've watched on TV that I avoided seeing in the cinema because I knew it was terrible, and then I watched it when it was on Foxtel and it was terrible. There's a couple of big ones recently. We were talking about this last live streamers. Pixels, Gods of Egypt, and London Has Fallen. Fucking awful films. Joe, it does cost money to go to cinema. I often do like date nights with my other half because we get a night when we don't have kids to look after. It's nice to go out, and we're old, so we don't want to go anywhere loud and rowdy, so we go like dinner and movies. Yeah, Pat Man, not even good special effects. drive-ins. We still have drive-ins in Melbourne. I think there are 2 working drive-ins in Melbourne. Bad cinema experiences. I'm trying to think of bad cinema experiences. I'm usually a little bit discerning. It's more sort of not great rather than absolutely terrible. Oh, Sean, Gods of Egypt was just terrible. It was just pointless and stupid, and like I so didn't give a shit what was happening in that movie. Like, that's when you know it's a bad movie, when you just don't give a shit what's happening. London Has Fallen was spectacularly bad in a different way, in that it's so stupid. It's like intelligence insultingly stupid. And you're just watching it going, oh my fucking God, this is so dumb. And I had to like finish watching it just to go, oh my God, you saw it all the way through and it was so dumb. And it's like, oh God. It is a challenge though to think of something I watched in a cinema recently that I was just sitting there thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? Yeah, maybe I'm a bit discerning in my cinema going, that you know, some films are better than others, but I'm struggling to think of something I went to see in the cinema where I just found myself going, oh God, no, this is terrible. What did I do this for? You walked out on the Golden Compass. Well, Sean, see, I've still not seen the Golden Compass, because yeah, I heard such bad things about it. Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Yeah, I didn't watch that one either. This is where we should just share shitty movies. And so then we know either to A, avoid them, or B, if you're in a really shitty movie mood, that's what you should go and watch. And we all get in shitty movies. Like, sometimes you just want to see, okay, how bad is this movie? Oh, that was Heath Ledger's last film, was it? Toby, hopefully I will receive the Quran soon. Joe, I have seen Idiocracy. I did enjoy it. I thought it was quite fun. And yeah, I think Idiocracy at its worst was still fun. But when it was really funny, it was really funny. I actually, like everyone goes about, oh, Idiocracy is a documentary that leaped back. I honestly don't agree with that. You look around, there are people in the world doing brilliant things. Oh my God, a remake of Big Fat Liar called Bigger Fatter Liar. That kind of seems like self-abuse, Sean, watching a film like that. Yeah, Joe, I think if I think about Idiocracy, I think my favourite line in the whole film, there's a food chain in America called Fuddruckers, and it's obviously meant to sound rude without actually being rude. And you know, oh, it's a joke, Fuddruckers sounds like you're swearing, but you're not actually. And in Idiocracy, it's not called Fuddruckers, it's called Buttfuckers. And when the guy wakes up from his cryogenics and he sees it, and he can't believe a food place is actually called Buttfuckers, and he stops this guy on the street and says, "Can you read that sign for me?" And the guy looks at him and goes, "Read? What do I look like? A fag?" And it's like, oh my God. Okay, that's setting a tone right there. That's Donald Trump's America right there. I was like, oh my God. The anti-intellectualism that's being pushed in the States is just terrifying. It's so awful. So that was probably my favourite joke in Idiocracy. Asking a guy trying to confirm that he's not gone crazy, and the sign actually says butt fuckers. And when he asks the guy to read it, he goes, "Read? What do I look like, a fag?" Sort of up there with when he tells them to stop putting sports drinks on the crops and to use water. And he says you should put water on the crops. And someone looks at him and goes, "Water? Like from the toilet?" It's like, okay. Oh, Tendai, you hit the nail on the head right there. During Brexit in the UK, when someone on the BBC is pointing out to one of these pontificating politicians, the experts have said that this is going to be a horrible idea and destroy the English economy. And the pro-Brexit wanker goes, "Well, I think everyone's sick of experts." When you say that, you are literally saying, I think everyone's sick of people who have a fucking clue what they're talking about. I think people only want to hear from people who are incompetent and unqualified because experts make them feel inferior. Here's the thing. If you feel inferior to an expert, there is a very good reason to that. It's because you are inferior to an expert. What are electrolytes? Oh yes, what they used to make brawn dough. That just reminded me of a really funny spoof video on YouTube from years ago of energy drinks. What was it called? Power Thirst or something? And it was just all shouting with this really over-muscled cartoon guy in it, like, "Your power thirst! You need this!" And that always made me laugh. What do we think about the trans-military ban? Well, that's what we were talking about right at the start of this thing, and it's terrible. And it's like it's just Trump pandering to really bigoted base. Like, it's got no purpose apart from pandering to a really bigoted, hateful base. It's as simple as that. What's my favourite actual real world energy drink? You're saying Monster? It's my one. Is it Monster? Yeah, Monster brought out these zero sugar ones. One's sort of lemon flavoured and one's mandarin flavoured, and they're really good. Yeah, Peter, like wedge politics, exactly. You're a Kiwi, you haven't seen quirky Aussie centric comedies like Malcolm and The Castle. That's a good question. That is a good question. So, quirky Aussie comedies from the last couple of years. Whew, that's a head scratcher, that one. So, can anyone else fill in? What's a quirky Aussie comedy? Wormwood was interesting, Peter. What did you say? Catherine, Red Dog was a very popular movie. Apparently, if the audio is going out of sync with the video, refresh your screen and it will get better. There's a conversation going on about that. And so if the audio is going out of sync with the video, just refresh your screen. Wormwood, if you haven't seen it, is an Australian zombie horror film that takes a different approach to the idea of zombies. And it's really pretty good. The guys who make that love making their genre stuff. But Wormwood is actually pretty good. Trying to think, okay, there must have been quirky Aussie comedies in the last couple of years because they do come out with semi-regularity. Black Sheep, that's a New Zealand horror film that's playing up the joke about how many sheep there are in New Zealand. A horror film about killer sheep. Since we're doing titles, Shaun of the Dead, I thought Shaun of the Dead was quite funny. It's a very enjoyable movie. Of that, you know, what's known as the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and what's the other one called? The End? The End of the World? What is that third one called? It's not called The World's End or something. I think my favourite of the trilogy is Hot Fuzz. It is The World's End, okay. Yeah, my favourite of the trilogy is Hot Fuzz. I think they're all funny. I think they're all quite good. Sucker looks like a decent independent comedy. I'm not familiar with that one, Mike. Feelings Villa saying Black Sheep reduced sex. Anything? Oh, yeah, Edgar Wright films are good. I just saw Baby Driver. That was very fast paced. That was a really quite good film. Yes. New Zealand Vampire. Oh, What We Do in the Dark. The Takai Wanatake guy, the guy who's ended up directing the new Thor film, and it looks like the new Thor film Ragnarok is going to up the comedy factor a bit. But he also did Hunt for the Wilder People. If you've never seen Hunt for the Wilder People or What We Do in the Shadows, watch them because they're both fucking hilarious. In very different ways. What We Do in the Shadows is a mockumentary about vampires, and it's bloody hilarious. We've got someone's coming in the kitchen again. What are you just putting cheese back in the fridge? The camera's pointing this way. Are you worried about being seen in the reflect? Oh no, sorry, I just realised why Mrs. Angry's shielding her eyes, because I have a light over there, bouncing light to see things. That's all good. Oh dear, what a funny house I live in. Oates Studio Shorts. I think the answer to that is no, Tendai. You are not Twilight. You were in a film, Mike. Oh, come on. You've got to tell us now, Mike. What was the film you were in? I've got an IMDb credit because I was the voice in an animated film. We're not Werewolves with Swearwolves. The rumour was he was making another film that was going to be about the werewolves. It was going to be in the style of What We Do in the Shadows, but it was going to be about the werewolves. Watch Firebase short. Yes, I have 2 fridges. That's the main food fridge, and that's mainly drinks and some extra stuff. You're in a horror movie called Rabbit. I love it. Catherine, you're in a horror movie called Rabbit coming out in the Melbourne International Film Festival. Go you. That's awesome. Loving it. Loving hearing all the stuff people work on. That's great. Look, speaking of people who work on stuff, someone I'm trying to get on a video, whether it's a pre-recorded video or a live stream. Someone I'm friends with on Twitter, her name is Delaney. She's good friends with another good friend of mine, Eva, who I used to do the sex and relationship videos with before she moved up to Queensland. But Delaney's here in Melbourne, and among other things, Delaney is actually quite a high flyer in computer gaming. She's a 3D modeler and designer and artist, and she's fucking freakishly talented. She sort of splits her time between doing art and 3D modeling for gaming, and she loves painting miniatures as well, and she's freakishly talented at both of them. She's also really quite cool, so I'm trying to get her to be in a video, whether we do a pre-recorded one or a live stream. Just have someone else on the video, and another really interesting, like way more talented than me person. So yes, you may be seeing more faces in my videos soon, because I'm trying to get more people to be in my videos. When we were talking about having a champion for Trial by Combat, I mentioned my friend Luca who does Swordcraft. We're planning a thing on a weekend soon, whether it's this weekend or another. It won't be this weekend, but maybe the following weekend. The people he does the Swordcraft there, they dress up and do the battle things. We're going to get a lot of the YouTube people to go along and video them, and I think that would make for a really cool video. These people sort of dressed up in gear and doing combat stuff. That seems like it would be fun. So I'm hoping to do that sometime in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I like doing different things, and definitely my favorite thing about YouTube, out of all the things that have happened over the last 10, 11 years that I've been on YouTube, my favorite thing is all the people I've met, incredibly diverse, amazing, cool, funny, talented people, and I've worked with them and done all these different things. You know, it's opened up a whole world. Like, I think YouTube's friggin' awesome, basically. And really glad I've had the opportunities I've had through YouTube. You know, met amazing people, done amazing things. Joe, I get what you're saying there. You're thinking, I need to talk to some losers so I feel good. Talking to talented people is a bit daunting sometimes. And that's the thing. I have made friends with people who are super talented and super accomplished, and it's kind of important not to judge yourself against them. Because like I said, like Delaney, who I was talking about, she's trying to reset herself up and get back on top of things, had a few setbacks recently, but like, she's just so mind-bogglingly talented. The idea of working with people that talented, I just find really cool. So your screen name on Steam games is Nobody. Nemo. Captain Nemo. Little Nemo. If you've ever heard of characters called Nemo, that's Greek, I think, for nobody. Some very archetypal characters in literature have been called Nemo. Nobody killed you, nobody won. That's really nihilistic, Joe. I love it. I think it's awesome. Why are you dead? Nobody killed you. What happened in that tournament? Nobody won. Finding Nobody. Yes, Aussie Brick Chick. Literally, Nemo in Finding Nemo means nobody. So, how nihilistic is that? You think about that. A Pixar film that's actually called Finding Nobody. That's pretty bleak, isn't it? My God. Yeah, I'm probably going to finish soon. Let's finish. Let's finish on that bummer of a note. Let's finish on that dark, nihilistic note. How do I feel about doom metal? Released an album. Wow. Actually, I'm really impressed by that. Maybe you've done some doom metal and some hip hop. I would be interested in hearing both. I shit you not. In my youth, I was into the metal and into some dark and hardcore stuff, particularly in the 80s and 90s. I do listen more to hip hop now, but I would be interested. Like a guy who's done theme music for me, did my Wangafat theme and the TFU Friday theme. There's a guy's screen name, he's an Aussie, his screen name's Blordo. He does animation and music, sort of like Screamo, techno metal. So I've got a fair bit of diversity in the stuff I listen to. But I'm always keen to, see and hear things people do. Hey, Demon, you're back. Not sure how much longer I'll be. I've been watching Rick and Morty, so I'm just doing Finding Nobody, original failed Tinder app name. No, that's good. I have actually been watching Rick and Morty. I was just in the mood to watch it. I have the discs for the first two seasons. Yes, Joe Will was well brought up. Pity I wasn't. Cool, Peter. I really actually look forward to hearing that. I'm always keen to know what people are doing. So yeah, I have the discs of season 1 and 2 of Rick and Morty. I just started watching again, so I watched one episode yesterday and one today. Man, the return one, the first episode they released online, like you can find it on YouTube. I finally watched it. It's really good. Like, how does Rick escape from the prison that he ended up in at the end of season 2? I wondered how they were going to do that. They did it really well. Like, it was really good. I'm pretty impressed by that show. I'm just a little depressed that the makers treat their animators like shit. I've read a couple of disturbing stories about how the makers of Rick and Morty treat their animators like shit. Sean, gonna get some sleep. I will be very soon too. Yeah, you gotta put the thing up your butt so we can get through customs. It was interesting, like, that's the pilot episode which I watched yesterday, and I was going, huh, really, is the pilot? Like, they haven't quite hit it here. Like, it's good. I like the pilot episode, but particularly Rick they haven't quite, this is my personal opinion, in the pilot, they haven't quite hit the mark with Rick. Joe, you headbutt the wall because of a physical tick. Ouch, dude. Ouch. What are physical ticks? I don't have, oh my God, who else has the thing when you're asleep or you're going to sleep? You're in bed and you're almost asleep and then your feet kick out really savagely. It's like, because you're half asleep, and for me, this is how it is. You're half asleep and you start dreaming, but you're not actually fully asleep. And for me, it's like you're walking on stairs and in the dream you slip and miss a stair and fall. So then the physical me does the leg thing that you would do. Oh man, like what the fuck? Okay, I'm seeing in the comments, we all experience that. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, the feeling of falling thing, but the leg kicking thing, I fucking do that all the time. And I have to admit, I won't tell you any gruesome details, but Mrs. Angry tells me when we're in bed together, if we're sort of cuddled up close, apparently I do this with my hands. Like, she thinks I'm trying to tickle her. I go, no, I was asleep. I had no idea. My fingers were just going. Apparently I do that. So yes, I have very little control over my body when I'm almost asleep. That is just a thing. Yeah, feeling down. I've tried to use that excuse to a judge.
No, seriously, I wasn't really grabbing that person. I was asleep in my fingers. I didn't know what was happening. It wasn't my fault.
Catherine, that's a fair call. You think your body's checking to see if I'm alive, yeah? Joe, I don't so much wake up from violent tick motions, but if I'm sleeping on my back, I will snore. Less so if I'm on my side, but if I'm sleeping on my back and it's like sleep, sleep, and then right at the point of falling asleep, we go, and I go, so I try not to sleep on my back, or that happens. Oh my God, sleep paralysis is fucked. I only had one real episode of it, and that was a long time ago, where you think you've woken up from a dream and you haven't, and you end up back in the bed because you're sleeping with your eyes open, and fuck, no. I had a friend who had this as a kid and a teenager. She had really bad sleep paralysis, and it was sleep paralysis, and she was sleeping with her eyes open, and she would wake up screaming, and she was from a really Orthodox Jewish family, and they thought she was possessed. Like, they were sending her to the rabbi to get treated because she was screaming all the time. What's happening is she's sleeping and her eyes were open, and then she would become conscious, but she couldn't move her body, and she was only a kid, and it freaked her out, and she would start screaming, and the parents would just come into her lying in the bed screaming. So they thought there was, they literally thought she was possessed. I only had one, I'll tell it to you in the whole background. I was sleeping, and I was having a dream that I was stuck in some long, twisting, dimly lit corridor that was stretching out in front of me, and it was really scary. For some reason, having to go down this tunnel was really scary, and it was freaking me out, and it's like, and then I was conscious of, this is a dream. In order to get out of this dream, all you have to do is wake up. This feels terrible, but it's just a dream. All you have to do is wake up. And I said, get out of bed and go and turn on the light in your bedroom. So I got out of bed and I walked across my bedroom and I flicked on the light, and the instant I flicked on the light, I got snapped straight back to my bed, and I was trapped in this tunnel again. And that was the worst thing ever, and it freaked me up so much. And what it turned out, and then I woke up, and then I wasn't really sure. So what happened, I had a mosquito net on my bed. I was living in Sydney at the time, and a problem with mosquitoes. I'd had a mosquito net, and where I lived, I was in a terrace house. My bedroom was at the front of the house, and a street light from out in the street would shine through my bedroom window. So the mosquito net that was above my head, the netting or twisting, catching the street light coming in, that was the tunnel. That was the tunnel. And so my fucking eyes were open the whole time. When I was asleep, my eyes were open, and I was getting this image of this ghostly twisting tunnel stretching out, which was the mosquito net catching the street light. So I had this thing where I thought I was in a tunnel, and I thought I'd got out of bed and walked across my bedroom and switched on the light, and I hadn't. I got snapped back into, and it was fucked, man. I did not sleep for the rest of that night. That was the most extreme sort of sleep paralysis thing I've ever had, and it only happened once. And when I've been told stories by friends who had like really long-term ongoing issues with sleep paralysis, that was just shit, and I'm so glad I never had that. That was awful. But anyway, with that cheery night, I'm gonna go to bed because it's like 10 o'clock. What's that, Damon? Your dad had magic mushies tripped out, you know, the movie Acrophobia. Hallucinogens will do that to you, Damon. You'll imagine when I've had magic mushrooms and other hallucinogens, and the most common thing is stuff that should be solid doesn't appear solid, like walls wobble or floors wobble. Fire is amazing, so something that's not solid is truly amazing. But rather than having full-on hallucinations, I've had things where it's like stuff that should be solid isn't solid. Sorry, Phil and Silla saying you're going to have coffees because of me. Okay, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to bed and hopefully won't have sleep paralysis. Night, Peter. Night, everyone. Thank you for joining me, as always. It's been super amounts of fun. You do a little thumbs up thing so YouTube thinks my live streams are good before you leave. Sleep well if you're in this part of the world. If you're in another part of the world and it's daytime for you, have a good day. And I'll be back next couple of days. There'll either be another live stream or a pre-recorded videos. Thank you, Aussie Brick Chick. Thank you everyone for joining me. This is always awesome fun hanging out with people on the live streams. And I'll see you all later. Bye now.